Craig, and had no context of what he was truly like. And thus, the second Craig Randall was born. This Craig was a cool one. He was captain of his school's football team, had a girlfriend who was super hot, and 2 years older than him, and he was doing these new visiting children a favour by hanging out with them. He was the experienced one, the veteran of the camp. He knew the coolest places to play in the woods that surrounded the campsite, the best places to swim, and he always had a story of something amazing that had happened in the past, which was always a story that made him look as equally brilliant. In fact, as the years went on and Craig reached his teenage years, he'd spend the weeks waiting for the weekends, when he could go back to Hurley and gain adoration from the smaller kids there, annoyed when the camping season ended in October, and he had to wait almost half the year to return. He didn't explain what he did while camping to his weekday friends. They weren't that important to him. They didn't see him in the same way. They'd gotten a spaniel named Scamper, named after some book dog his dad had loved as a kid, a couple of years into this. Craig wasn't a fan of the spaniel, mainly because he ended up as the de facto dog walker. But that said, it seemed to attract girls to him, all wanting to stroke Scamper, and Craig had by then reached an age where girls were very interesting. And then it had all gone wrong. His parents now had a caravan, and although Ellie still slept with them inside it, they allowed Craig his own 3-person tent, which he'd had to save up for. It was like having his own place. He had a double mattress inside it, even if his sleeping bag fitted one person, and a small radio that played CDs. But for the 15-year-old Craig, this was a bachelor pad. He was finally becoming a man. And his attitude to the other kids on the site changed. He wasn't bothered about playing in the woods like he was 5 years earlier. He wanted to kiss girls and look cool. He'd just finished his Year 10 mock GCSE exams. You were effectively a grown-up when you did that. He bullied the smaller kids in the campsite, mainly because he could. That, and it was revenge for the bullies who still attacked him at his own school. He'd also realised that he was no longer the veteran who could show the coolest places to other kids. That was now a position given to his sister, or even other younger children who, arriving years after he had claimed the role, were now looking at him as some kind of weird hanger-on. And this had angered him. He'd acted out by hurting the smaller kids. Not physically, but mentally. He'd take things of theirs, left outside the tents at night, and throw them into the Thames, or break them, leaving them back outside the tents for the owners to find the following morning. He'd tell stories of the Grey Lady, a ghostly woman who hanged herself in Medmenham Abbey, a stately home across the Thames, and historically infamous as the location of Sir Francis Dashwood's The Hellfire Club, who used it for obscene parodies of religious rites in the mid-1700s. Her ghost walking the banks of the Thames late at night, stealing children's souls. He'd even pretended to become possessed by Dashwood, terrifying the younger children until they cried, now and then finding an intrigued teenage girl who wanted to know more. He'd never gone too far with that, except for that one time. But now it was summer. School was over, and the Hurley campsite had become a prison for Craig. After 7 years there, he had built a reputation, one that his parents had often argued with him about. They were one strike away from being banned because of his antics, they'd say. He'd laugh and tell them that the ghost of Francis Dashwood had done the terrible things, not him, and then walk out before they could reply. In fact, he'd just done that, walking with Scamper eastwards along the Thames towards Hurley Lock, a mile or so away. The Thames was to his left, strangely quiet for this time of day. Nobody was fishing. There weren't even any kids playing in the water. It felt wrong, odd somehow. The bank of the river became an open field to his right, and about 50 yards away a bank of trees showed the woodland copse that bordered the campsite. This was where Scamper was running to, as Craig tried to get his battered old iPod Nano to work. If he'd charged it earlier, he wouldn't...